Hey, everybody, welcome to Supernatural Choices. I'm your host, Joe, and we are live. It's kind of amazing. So, thank you guys. Sorry, I got started a little bit late. Just had a couple of things I had to take care of right quick, but I'm excited to have you guys all here. And this is going to be a great show. So, thank you guys very much for joining me. Be sure, if you haven't, be sure to hit the likes, the thumbs, hit subscribe because we're going to be talking about some amazing stuff and have a really great time. So the whole point of Supernatural Choices is that I'm a huge fan of sci-fi, of horror, all that kind of good stuff on there, and supernatural beings. And it's really just taking a look and to say whether or not it makes sense to be that supernatural being inside our world. That's what the whole point of the show is, and we'll try to break down and examine things. So I'll first start off with doing an overview of the actual supernatural thing. Then I'll get into whether or not some of the abilities and powers of it. And then next, we'll go into actually, does it make sense in our modern world to be that supernatural being? So, super excited. And let me jump right over to it. I'm going to pull up some things because the first thing we're going to talk about is about the Attack on Titan abilities. So, I'm a huge fan of Attack on Titan. I love that show, and I think it's just one of just an amazing show that they created. The big part with the show itself is just from the standpoint of, let me take this off actually. A big part of this show is to really just the thought of the horror of things, of the actual supernatural horror and the amount of damage and destruction that can happen, and that it can be really random. I really do appreciate that part of the actual show itself. So let me go pull on up and give me 1 second. I'm going to upload a piece. There we go. And there we go. Let me go one bit over here. I don't know. I'm having a little bit of technical problems. Oh, that's the way it happens when you go live. All right. Let me go see what I can cut out over here. They're talking about a max limit on there. So properties. We're going to go over here. What? I was almost there. How dare they? I just cut out a couple slides. And we'll see what happens over here. And then I do properties. Okay. How dare they not let me pull this thing up? Oh, some of those I really liked. Okay. But once I cut those out, then it's going to resize it. Then let me go over here to present. There was some really cool pictures too. Upload that file. And there we go. And it's processing, and it'll take its time. This is crazy. Sorry about that, guys. I'll make sure to cut this out in the editing part. So I'll give it first to just a brief overview of actual um the whole piece with the actual story of Attack on Titan. I'm pretty sure you guys know it. You guys have seen it before. I mean, it's a great show, and if you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. But I go through it real briefly. Is what the show itself. It really centers around these people that live on this area, and they're really the last remnants of human civilization, and they all will live within this walled-in city. And this city is huge. Well, the entire walls, where it covers quite a bit. It's almost like its own state because it's so huge. And then you have the walls that are around it, Maria, Rosa, and Cena, are the three walls. Reason why the people live within the walls is because of the Titans, which are what they call these beings that are outside the walls. They're mindless beings that will just run and just try to eat humans whenever they see them. So because they're so big, they're so tall, they can be anywhere from 10 feet to about 50 feet tall. um it's one of those things where everybody's super scared, and they don't want to go outside in order to really be around those folks or anything, because they're going to get eaten. But looking at when we talk about like how do you kill those things, there's only one way to kill them. Is to really to cut the back of their neck. When you sever the spine, that's the only way to kill them. They can regenerate really fast. They don't feel any pain. They're mindless, and at the same time, they don't get tired or any of that type of stuff. And they'll just keep coming to try to go kill a human being. They're completely mindless. But the people are safe as long as they're inside the walled-in city. However, one day you have the big colossal titan that shows up and appears on the wall itself, and then everybody starts freaking out because again, this big colossal titan just kicks open the actual part of the wall, and it blows inside, and then in rushes all the different actual titans, and it just causes chaos. They start eating people, and that really sets up the story. It's an amazing opening and just so much fun, so much of like horror and just being fearful of who's going to get eaten. It's a really good setup, and I really do recommend. And even if you've seen it before, you got to go check it out again. Um, but as the people go in, as the Titans go inside, they go just ripping up people, eating them up inside, and from there you start following the main three characters. There's Mikasa, Aaron, and Armin. Those are the three main ones, and you follow them throughout their lives as they try to survive, as they make additional friends, as they try to fight back against these Titans. There's other folks that they meet, which are just amazing characters, amazing stuff that's going on. But that's really, in a nutshell, the story of Attack on Titan. They made movies about it. They made anime. They've obviously there's the manga that was the original part of it. There's video games. There's all kind of references on there. So definitely check it out. When we're looking at though, like the Titans, there's really like two different categories of the Titans. There's the mindless Titans, and then there are the founding Titans. We'll go through the mindless ones first. The mindless ones are the ones that I mentioned before that are completely just mindless. They can't control themselves. They don't eat. They don't get hunger. They're always a Titan at all times, and they really cannot control anything about them from that piece. This guy is actually one of my favorites. Just this bug eye guy. I always like whenever he showed up on the screen. He got these little baby arms. Is what he is. He's just a big man with these bug eyes on there. So I really liked him a lot. But with the Titans, they did come into as far as abnormal Titans, where they slightly remained some part of their humanity that they were able to retain. They could partially communicate, partially do things, but they were still Titans to the core. But they were just kind of barely holding on to any semblance of mind, is what they really were. So those were the more abnormal Titans. The third type, when you think of the mindless Titans, is the wall Titans, who are just completely walled in, and they become a wall, and they're part of the founding walls that I mentioned before, and they just sit there and they don't do anything. One thing to note is that when the Titans are in the dark, they don't move; they just kind of stay still. They only active in the sunlight is when they're active, but the walled in Titans, they just kind of sit there because they're in the dark all the time. They've been there for thousands of years, and they've really gone insane. And that's one of the things that they keep in mind about the actual Titans themselves, is that even though the person is a mindless Titan, they still have their own conscious inside, and they still have a thought process inside. So when you think about the question about whether or not it makes sense to be a mindless Titan in our modern world, I would say hell no. Even in a case of like if somebody was dying of a terminal disease, you wouldn't really be able. I wouldn't think that would be an option, just because the problem is one thing you become it, and then the second part is that you have to really figure out as far as like unbecoming it. So if you have some type of terminal disease, you say, all right, you're going to take the Titan serum, and then you're going to wait for a cure to be found. One, you're going to be in a like a living hell because you're not able to control your body. That can be very disorientating. At the same time, um, there's no guarantee that you're going to get a cure because really the only cure is to eat one of the fouling titans. And who's to say that they're going to have those inside our modern world? So if ever given an option of being a mindless titan, definitely say no. But that leads to the other titans, like the founding titans. There's 9 of them, and each have their own special abilities. The first one is the founding titan itself that can control other titans, can command other titans, and can manipulate the bodies of other titans. So you can do quite a bit of stuff with the founding titan as far as being able to control. You can do that both as a human and as a titan, and that's the advantage of the founding titans, is that you can convert into a person. Is what you can do. In addition, with the founding titans, you can heal really fast, even as a human. So if you get your arm cut off or legs blown off, then you can just heal really fast from that standpoint. You can control when you change, which is great because you don't have to stay as a titan. And even when you're a titan, you have your mind that's connected to you, so you can control your body. It's also, as far as with the actual founding titans, the one big drawback is that you only live for about 13 years after getting your titan ability. So it really limits your lifespan. When you think of people living 65, 80, maybe even 90, depending on their health, to say that you just got a 13-year span and that's it. It really hampers as far as your ability to function as a human being. But going next from the founding titan to my second favorite founding titan is the colossal titan, also called the god of destruction. Really do enjoy whenever he's on the screen, that huge explosion he creates whenever he's on. He can do the smoke abilities, the steam abilities, can burn people, just causing all kind of destruction. He broke open the walls, so whenever he pops up on the screen, it's always a good time. It really is. Next Titan is the Armor Titan, which obviously just has all the armor around him and help break through a couple walls also too. The one thing to note that armor is like tissue paper. It's not very strong. And even during the show, the people, they were able to figure out how to make cannonballs. And the cannonballs, they could hurt this guy. So when you think about our modern weapons, things like bunker buster bombs, heavy artillery, A-10 Warhogs, and a Gatling gun. You think about all the different destructive missiles and weapons we have. I think it'd be pretty easy to kill this guy because they were able to almost do it with the technology that they had. Then next, going to the Attack Titan, another fun Titan. The abilities of it is kind of more. It can it's able to more pick up the other abilities, like you figure out how to do armor on it. But his abilities are really limited. Where with the other Titans, they can see the memories of the past users. With the Attack Titan, it can see the memories of the future users. The one thing though, when the main character, he got the actual founding Titan, he was able to manipulate and really control some of the people that was in the past through that process there. So, but being able to see future yourselves on there, it all depends on. But you don't see clear images, you don't see the full story, so it can make it difficult as far as what you need to do in the future. It's not like, hey, you can see in the future, you can go see your lottery numbers or something like that. So it's kind of limited in those stance. Then there's the female Titan, which everybody calls it just because it is a female Titan, and they call it like that in the show. But the female Titan was able to do some of the things of the other Titans. It could do a call as far as call the Titans to her, the mindless Titans. And the other thing that the female Titan could do, it could do the hardening ability to where it made like a part of his body really hard, almost like a diamond material. And that was incredibly hard to break. Then there is Zeke, which is the Beast Titan, one of my favorites. Love him and his ability to throw. The Beast Titan can actually change into many different types of beasts, is what they can do. And we see it later on inside the show but whoever has the ability, they get to choose what type of beast it is. And in this case, Z chose it to be an actual monkey because he wanted that throwing arm, and he was able to throw rocks like missiles and just really blow things up. So that was really cool and really fun to watch. Then there's one of my what I call useless titan, the cart titans. Just it just goes around on all fours like a cart. I mean, the only thing is it can go long distance as a cart, so it can go like for weeks at a time. As a titan, it can change into titan and back to human as much as it wanted. So that I mean that's pretty cool, but I always thought it was kind of useless. Same thing with this guy, the actual jaw titan that only has just these jaw abilities, and he's got the claws on his hands and his feet. But I always kind of saw him as kind of useless. He was fast, but I wasn't too impressed with him whenever he showed up. And this final Titan, the Founding Titans was a Warhammer Titan, and I thought for sure like, oh man, that Warhammer was gonna be cool and good, and it was nice, but man, it just got their ass kicked and pretty quick. I was like, damn. That was the Warhammer. It could make that kind of hard thing is what it could do. So that was all a bit of something. So, thinking about from the standpoint of what would your lifestyle be if you had those, if you decided to take that one of the nine Titan abilities? Well, the first thing is you're only going to live for just 13 years from the time you take it. And that's pretty important because 13 years is a short period of time. You're going to have that much time at all to do anything or really communicate to anybody or really get things done. I mean, 13 years is nothing. That's not even LeBron James has been in the NBA for 28 years. So just 13 years goes by so fast from that standpoint. So I think that's one of the huge limiting parts to it. It would make sense if you were to have a terminal disease, you're about to die or something of that sort. Then yeah, it makes sense. But as far as you being a young, healthy person, taking those abilities and limiting your life to only 13 years, that's a tough pill to swallow. And I don't think most people would really choose that. Maybe if you're like in your 70s or 80s, it would make sense. But that'd be pretty hard with that piece on there. The other thing is think about like, well, once you get it, what the hell are you going to do with it? It's not something that's going to make you super smart. So you can just go make all these great inventions from that standpoint. You're not going to have a long lifespan from that standpoint. You can still just keep living your regular life and not really use the ability. Definitely 100% on there. But I was thinking like, well, if you were to try to get a job, what kind of job would you get? Or how can you make millions of dollars, or how can you really capitalize on those abilities? The first thing is like I was thinking of like is disaster relief and rescue, especially like in wildfires and earthquakes. Any one of those abilities, the ability to get there quickly, transport, and try to help people, even the cart titan, to get there quickly, transport, and bring people out and help people. I think that'd be pretty valuable. And you can almost set up your own company that does that. I was thinking about construction and engineering, but that'd be kind of something more where if you have a spot that's more tough to get to, like in the deep ocean or somewhere near a volcano, then okay, that would make sense then. Space exploration. I thought about that and everything, but we don't really know if they can go completely without breath inside outer space. So, and we don't know what the radiation effects would have on the actual Titans if they were able to live through that piece. Then I thought about like military and defense, but when you think about it, um, again, with the amount of weapons we have and the smart bombs, we talk about drones, you talk about the different missiles and guns we have, it wouldn't make any sense at all for that ability to utilize that inside war. Only just maybe the cart titan, if you're trying to get to soldiers quickly and trying to bring them in and out and rescue them, that one kind of one would make sense. The jaw titan could help people a little bit, and obviously the colossal titan, the giant one, that one obviously would be pretty useful because of the way it transforms and explodes. But that'd be the limitation on there. I was also thinking about like from a sports standpoint, like all right, could you utilize it in sports somehow? The only way Not really, just because we saw when they were training and they were fighting as regular people, they were really limited. It wasn't like they were super strong or super fast, or they had, these great abilities. Other than the ability to heal, that is one that they'd be able to utilize. So maybe if you're talking about like boxing, or if you're talking about something like UFC, then it would make sense because you get your brains busted in. You sit down on a bench for a minute, you heal, and you come back and you're fresh all over again. So maybe in that regards, that you could utilize those abilities from that standpoint. Obviously, with entertainment, there's a lot you can do as far as entertain people with shows. You can almost make it like a bit tent show, like a Ringley's Brothers Circus, and do that, or set up a show in Vegas. That would be pretty cool. Even from the standpoint of magic, to say like, hey, you're gonna get your arm chopped off and people freak out, and you set up this whole magic show, and obviously you heal from it, and your arm's just fine. That'd be cool also too, from that piece. I was thinking also about scientific research and testing, and that's ultimately if you join the military with those abilities. That's probably where you probably wound up ending up at too, is that they would do some scientific testing on your ass. Is what it is. But there's a lot of maybe some research that can break out from that standpoint on what that all means. Then I thought about also like organ donations. That if you're able to heal and you can heal rather quickly and fast, then maybe that's the thing where you heal fast, and then you donate an organ, they take it out, and you heal fast. So like when you think about livers, kidneys, lungs, things that people need that don't come around that often, then maybe that's your kind of niche where you're helping out people, you're making money, and you're just giving your organs is what you are. And again, if you're towards the end of your life, maybe that's a cool thing where you're just like, hey, I'm almost about to die, but look at this. I'm going to go and I'm going to give these organs. I'm going to help a lot of people. And that'd be a wonderful thing on there. The other thing I thought about was religion, was as far as you going out and you start your own religion, something of the sort. Obviously, you're a scammer, but it's all good. You would start a religion and set it all up. You're a prophet or whatever you want to call it. And, you have your worshipers and people that follow you. And, maybe at the end of your life, when you're 13 years up, you have one of your followers who is the most, loyal. They eat you somehow, and then you go on, and then you got the next person on there. So maybe that's the way that you make a lot of money and you profit off of it on there, is to really go that route. But it's not like, hey, you get these abilities and you can be a super smart gambler, or you can be some type of person that just you can make a ton of money. You're still gonna have to work. You're still gonna find a job. Is what I think on there. And I think overall, do I think it is worth it? I would say hell's no. Just because of the 13 years, I think that it would be too limiting. I think if you're at the end of your life or you're dying of a terminal disease, then yes, it would make sense then. But otherwise, I would not recommend it. I think it'd just be a waste, is what it would be on there. So um, that's my thoughts. And I do want to hear from you guys. Let me know your thoughts. So be sure to like this video, comment, tell me whether or not you think it would be a smart thing to do to take any of the abilities, or let me know if I'm not thinking about it in the right fashion on there. So be sure to like, comment, subscribe. We'll talk about some other things next time on there. All right. Thank you very much and have a great day.